where's my VTuber? What's going on? There he is. Awesome. Hello and welcome everyone. I hope you all enjoyed that. Like one of the things that I've been meaning to fix, I've been like following a bunch of new stuff on YouTube, and I saw somebody mention like a coming soon, starting soon slate, and I realized that for the first few minutes of the stream going live, nobody's there yet. So I'm out here talking to like 3 people because it takes like an hour for everyone to filter into the room. And while that's happening, like I'm spitting bars, and like and no one's seeing it. And so if I am going to like get ready to go live, I actually should probably have a starting soon screen, and now I've got it. I also have a new OBS screen, which is the clean display. That's like, there's no notifications, no VTuber. So if there's ever any really, really good demos that we're going to try to like screen cap, we've got that for it too. So now I'm all set up. It's all on my Stream Deck, so I can swap it around. I'm glad you guys are vibing to the Wii shop music. That's a banger, all-time banger. Yeah, email notifications take like 10 minutes. That's why a lot of streamers do intro screens for like 15 minutes. Yes, I just figured this out. I'm like fucking new to Twitch, all right? I don't know how to Twitch. I'm learning. I'm putting forth all of the effort. I just heard a notification sound, but the thing didn't pop up. What's going on? What happened? What's good that just happened? Tier 1 sub from Meat Suit Mania. Thank you so much. It's been great seeing you around. So yeah, I'm like a real boy now, and we're getting this together. I was thinking about today with these larger figures. When I do this like big chunky block in like this, it's like not that helpful. So I'm thinking about maybe trying to do a little bit more lasso, you know? A little bit more lasso. When it overlaps itself and it like creates negative space, it's kind of cool. Like I was thinking, instead of trying to get it in like a really precise way, just hit it. Just hit it a bunch of times. So like one of the things I changed 2 things this morning in my hotkeys. Number 1 is I went in to the shortcuts, and under panel menus, no, tools. Under tools, you see, I was having that problem where like the wrong lasso was popping up all the time, and I was ending up in the polygonal lasso tool. I unhotkeyed. I realized what it was is that if you bang the same hotkey multiple times in a row, you end up with different like tools that are all stacked under each other. So you can like hit B, and then you add different brush. You can hit B more times, and you get different brushes. I hate that. I want to be like, when I hit B, I want it to go to brush. And if I hit B again, because I'm just like flailing at the keyboard, I want to still be on the brush and not go to like the mixer brush. Same thing with the lasso. If I want to go to polygonal lasso tool, I'll take the trip over to the menu. I'll do the polygonal lasso. Or I will like set up a different hotkey for it, okay? I don't want this thing. So I unhotkeyed the extra lassos, and I unhotkeyed the extra brushes. Pencil tool, we don't want it, right? Mixer brush tool, we'll pull up the mixer brush tool. We discovered yesterday that you get the mixer brush tool, that you can have these different tools built into the brush presets, because brush presets are just tool presets now. Something that happened somewhere in the last 10 years and I didn't notice. So I unhotkeyed those. So now when I like bang on the B key, nothing. I bang on this lasso button, nothing. And like I never end up on the wrong tool again. And it's fantastic. The other thing I did is I hotkeyed up here. I kept having to go window arrange to try to get the two up vertical and consolidate tabs. I made hotkeys. I set hotkeys for these. So now if I like go to the right image and I hit F3, I'm like in. And then if I want to consolidate it for whatever reason to go to look at the one thing, instead of fumbling around 3 menus deep, I just have a hotkey for it now. And it's awesome. So I'm cruising. High IQ strat, I like it. Thank you so much, Vanta TV. TDM, I'm glad that my genius is appreciated in my time. 14 coffees. Wait. Yeah, you sound peppy today, Pete. You sleep good? Yeah. Okay, so here's what happened. I had a few days where sleep not so good. I made a mistake. I got got a new prescription for edibles, and I went and I was like excited to try them out. So I had a few days in a row where I did like the edibles before I went to sleep, and then my body was like, "Oh, we need those to sleep." And so I was like going to sleep at a regular time, and I was waking up at like 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning. And so I was running on no sleep. And so I was like, instead of relying on these things, I'm going to be like the stoic master. I'll be the stoic juggler. And I will go ahead and like just tough it out and go to bed at reasonable times. And eventually I'm going to wake up at the right time. So today I woke up at a reasonable time, and I went and I hit the gym. And then I had a lazy ass morning. And so I'm not burned out. I slept good. I feel good. I'm excited to get started on doing Twitch today. I've got like my new shit set up for my Stream Deck. I've got new shit set up in Photoshop. I'm feeling fantastic. And I felt like, hey, you know what? I want to bring a good energy every single time when I stream. So I'm just going to like, I'm going to take this like good energy and I'm going to like bring it to the stream, and we're just going to like enjoy it together. I hope y'all like the peppier Pete. Oh, with the deadpan VTuber.
We love Peppy Pete.
Pepe Pete. Yeah, Peacock just raided with 232 people. Thank you so much, Peacock. Who the heck are you? That's awesome. What an amazing way. I felt like I was just saying how I started off hot today, feeling really good, and now I'm getting rated almost immediately off the bat. The universe is speaking to me. Let's see, I gotta check out Peacock. Peacock, can you drop a link so I know who you are? Like, I want to see your stuff. Are you an artist? You said you're rating VTubers. I'm a brand new VTuber. I just built this rig. This is my own art. It's a painting of mine. I don't see a lot of painted VTuber rigs, and so I figured I'd give it a shot, see if it was even possible. And here I am. Didn't know you were a VTuber now, Lel. Yeah, that's like new this week. And it's something I've thought about for a long time, and now I'm in it. Thank you so much, Meadow. Here, I'm going to check out Peacock's Instagram real quick. Oh, you're putting up numbers. Dang, your shit's good. Dude, I meant to do this meme. This is such a good meme. I did not expect the VTuber clicking on the stream. Yeah, I mean, I had Jinko jeans back when I was in high school. That was a real thing back then. I knew this cute girl back in high school that had like those, and I was like, that's what cool people do. And so I got some too. I went out to Hot Topic. I got myself some Jinkos. Dang, this is cool stuff. So what were you streaming right before you raided? Oh my god, thank you so much, Instagram, for giving me a huge pop-up I can't get rid of. Doing some studies? That's what I'm doing. Holy shit, man. I am also here doing the studies. I do these just about every single day, noon Eastern. I pop on, I do a study, I maybe work on some stuff from imagination. But studying on stream has been one of the ways that I've been able to keep up with it. I never was a study guy for years and years, and then I started doing daily studies on Discord, and then we brought it to Twitch, and it's been awesome. I just crossed 50 dailies, and I'm shooting for, I don't know, maybe 1,000. We'll see what happens. Studying on stream keeps you going. Hell yeah. I've been like really enjoying the study streams. I honestly like, it's been kind of a novel thing for me, so I've been enjoying it. I think even more than like my regular work. But I feel like I'm getting stronger for the first time in a long time. I'm like an old ass dude. So like this is exciting territory. I'm trying to spread the word and get more people into them.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Doing good. We just got rated by
Okay.
like a shitload of people.
Awesome. Welcome in, everybody. Yeah, I got like super insecure about my voice without a mic, and I'm doing it again for some
All
reason.
right.
But
Kim says, I said this the other day, but it got missed. Because I've been binge watching this, I had a dream with your hot new advice for us all to draw memes. I think that's actually a decent idea. I think doing painted memes is a good plan if you want to like, maybe get a few new eyeballs on your stuff. Like it's not a bad idea to like go ahead and meet the people where they are rather than worry about if you're if you're being like having integrity as an artist or whatever. We're all here on Twitter, you know. Streaming is fun. Everyone should do it. I think that's where we disagree. Streaming's really hard, and it's a huge distraction. And I think unless somebody has a plan, streaming is like a liability. It's really tough. And I did it a little bit, like a couple of times way back, like 5 years ago, and I immediately quit. I was like, I can't do this. Streaming's too tough. The streaming's only hard if you have expectations. But you're coming in with a rate of 200 people. Like those are fantastic numbers. I mean, like you're the one setting these expectations that sort of stuff's possible. No schedule, no quality guarantees. I mean, with studies, like it becomes way easier because I think the thing that kept me out of it was when I was trying to do mainline work on stream. I was always feeling like I was underperforming. And with that underperforming, I was kind of like it was a waste of time. I wasn't getting work done, and I was letting people down. People were coming to go see like the heat, and I wasn't bringing the heat. Yeah, finding working on my stuff 10 times harder than studies, absolutely. Performance anxiety through the roof. Studying, yeah, you just like I'm gonna do the picture. Like I can't get it that wrong. It's like it, and if it's bad, we just call it educational. It's been an absolutely great experience to try new working techniques too, because like I tend to get a little conservative when it comes to like my work process. Working on my mainline stuff. And then like the studies come along and I try things out and I put out some bad ones. But it's an opportunity to air out all these things that I thought like maybe I might do someday. And instead of it being someday, it's just like every day. Yeah, all hail the study streams. Study streams are superior to all other things in the world. People who do daily studies are better than everybody else. I think that's easy to agree with.
Exactly.
I think not only morally better, but I think generally more attractive. Is this reference somewhat painted? It looks smooth. You know what? I don't know what the deal with this is. I'm pulling these off of Pinterest. And in some cases, I think they've been touched up quite a bit or even like photo manipulated. I don't know what is going on over here. Like, it looks like maybe she's got like this giant ribbon on her waist and it's like coming up in the way. But then there's also these long hair strands that are kind of getting in the way. And I don't know like what here has been like hacked together or photo manipulated. I feel like when I've got these really strangely like posed and like dressed models, I get this like I get this sense of like I figure it out kind of over the course of it, but like my first guess as to what's even happening here tends to be pretty wrong. I managed to like make a box, and it was like everything besides what was in the box. There we go.
I think I found like one of my favorite concept artists, but she has like a very small like selection of art to look at because she got picked up by like Bonfire Studios. Have you ever heard of Carolyn Lim?
No. Oh, Peacock. You saying you're not professional? That's crazy. A full-time non-artist, I disagree, but everyone should rest every day instead. Okay, listen. If you're not able to like make it as a full-time artist, like talk to me off stream, hit me up on Discord. I will help lay out a path for you towards full-time art income. I like consult with people all the time about like money and career stuff, and I'd be happy to talk with you about how you can take the next steps because you're ready. Unless I'm confusing things. Am I confused?
It's true. He talked me into starting
you're
a business. Now I'm $40,000 in debt. No, I'm kidding.
You're a programmer. That's the programmer income can be tough to beat.
Yeah.
Tired of programming? It's been 10 years of engineering. You're good. You've built an audience. You seem cool. I'm always happy to help anyone. We got this little Discord here. That's where the voice chat's coming from. And like I talk to people all the time about their careers and try to push them towards, advancing their stuff. I'm happy to do it with just about anybody. So yeah, give me a DM sometime if you ever want to chit chat about that. No, it's not a sales pitch and it's no pressure. Just happy to offer the advice of somebody who's been in the game for way too long. Yeah, I'm serious. It's an easy thing. I love helping people out, and it's seriously, it's not a sales pitch or anything. Like I do this all the time. I try to be generous if I have the ability to help people. I love getting a chance to do it.
And it's not like bullshit either. It's usually backed by like personal experience, which is nice. It's a breath of fresh air, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a professional artist for like, shit. I was in game dev for like 7 years, and then I quit I got fired from my last game dev job 10 years ago, and I've been an independent artist / content creator ever since, and I support a family of 4 off of a single income. So it's like, and I know a bunch of other people that are in a similar situation where they, the art's their full-time gig, they talk money and business, and I'm always happy to, share contacts with people and everything. So, or somebody who feels like they're ready to make that career jump and they've got something building, let me know. I'm always happy to share and talk about it publicly on the stream or in private.
Man is incredibly generous with his time and knowledge.
Straight facts.
Ready to throw your income away? I mean, it depends on how. I mean, those engineer incomes can be pretty good. It can be pretty tough to match. But like, I've known people that are like just coming out of college and they set up sort of a direct sales business, selling personal work straight to fans. And I see them. There was a friend of mine posted a YouTube video where he was posting about how the sort of breakdowns of him making $240K in a year doing convention sales. And like, I'm out of the convention game. I've been out of the convention game for a couple of years, but like that's real money. That's big boy money. And then
was that Inkwell? I think I saw that.
Yeah, Dustin Pisano. Yeah, I met him first. He was when I first visited Sarasota. He was a senior at Ringling, and so I came by and visited his portfolio class when my friend Sean was teaching it, and so I got to meet him like while he was right before he graduated, and then he graduated and immediately like pivoted into building like a full-on indie art business. And I was like, damn, this kid is incredible. And then I discovered there was a secret. he had actually gone to college twice, and he was like nearly 30 by the time he graduated. So it wasn't like, I was like, oh, I thought he was some sort of wonder kid. He just has like a young looking face, and he went to college twice. But still, he did go straight from college into like this. And I know other people that have done that for real. It's like, it's not a thing I think you need to like build towards in terms of like building an audience or whatever, but it definitely is a thing where like you have to have a product in order to be able to make that kind of leap. You have to have a skill set for it. So it's not the sort of thing I think, I don't sell like this idea of people like just anybody can do it, do it as a side hustle, whatever. It's like for people who have really been committed to it for a long time and have built a nice product and like a really good brand and like understand all the stuff around the art, it's like totally doable. And like I've helped a bunch of people like get started over the years. I mean, yeah, extra experience and age. I've not only have I done it for myself, but I've just known plenty of people who have done it. You started practicing art in your 30s. It's a bit daunting trying to change now. Wow, that's pretty impressive that you've managed to like build a successful streaming career and also like a successful Instagram and everything, starting art late in life. That's tough. That's hard mode. I've known other people that have done that, but that's actually a lot rarer. Most of the people that I know that have like jumped in the game have done so like in their mid-20s. Yeah, I mean, art is really fun. I mean, that's the crux of it, right? Like, it's not, nobody gets into art because they think it's going to be an awesome career move. But it is totally possible to have a real successful career as an artist. There are dozens of us.
Damn. Don't be like me, kids. I got into this game because the internet told me if I made furry art, I'd be a millionaire.
Yep.
It was all lies.
Yep. Yeah, this outfit is this outfit is weird. Yeah, it's like maybe it's a crop top, but like what, I don't understand like what this whole dark region is here. Like this part here, it seems like her arm maybe in the background. But it like, is her, oh my God, my Photoshop has been doing this thing. Photoshop is like seizing up. I might have to switch back to CS6. Already bought CSP and Rebel Wake Up into us Pro, so I must do it at some point. Wait, I didn't know you owned all this shit. Oh, wait. It's come back to life. Nope. It's like part of the interface still works. But like, oh, there it goes. Is it back? It's like this window is active and the other window is not. It's not responding. So one of the images is working and the other one isn't. So what I was saying is it feels like this might be like, this might be the edge of her waist here, and that there's just like a lot of, she's wearing a lot of shit on her, and that it's like coming out, like her hip might be coming in through here, and there's like a bunch of stuff kind of coming up, and that this is like the rear part of her arm, and that this is like the cuff of a sleeve. So it might be that like her shoulders back here, and that like it's like showing through a little bit. I wonder what's going on with this. I've had this happen a couple of times now where one of the windows just fully seizes up. That's awesome. Okay. It's so strange because I'm used to Photoshop like lagging and crashing and whatever. That's normal. Create a new window instance for a broken window should help reset it. All right. I mean, I don't actually need that window. I can, it's just a reference image, so I can bring it back up through here. My experiments with switching over to Photoshop CC have been like a decent success so far, but this sort of stuff is kind of demotivating for me.
Technical difficulties?
Yeah. She's got hair over her abs.
Model where you can't tell what the hell she's even wearing, and technical difficulties in Photoshop.
I mean, we'll figure out what the hell this girl's outfit is doing at some point on the stream. It's just like, if we fully lose control over Photoshop, it's very difficult for me to do this.
Yeah. It has a mind of its own sometimes.
Oh shit, I forgot there's no music playing. Yeah, I don't know. Like, when I first tried streaming like 4 years ago or whatever, I was very anxious about having royalty-free music playing in the background, like having some like what he calls them, the video game OSTs or whatever running in the background. But man, I don't know. Like, we've been doing a lot of just chit-chatting on the Discord, and I think that the music can be a little bit of a distraction sometimes. Had my ear to my speakers to hear if there was music playing for like 45 seconds. What? Yeah, you can put your own background music on to create a little bit of a mix. Like, I don't really want to mess with whatever content ID system is going on with Twitch right now. I mean, it's one more thing to kind of get up to speed on. And there's been a lot of kind of getting up to speed with the technology, streaming-wise. So I just haven't really been considering it. And then, yeah, like it feels like it makes more room for there to be chit-chat on the Discord. I also find that sometimes it's hard to tell what people are saying when the music is playing over it. Christopher Nolan style.
Yeah, it's like, it's brain overload if you're like drawing and listening to music and talking to people. I was trying to do that earlier, and it's like, this is not working. I'm not concentrating on anything.
I know there's a way to have music not save in VOD, so you don't need to worry about copyright. Ooh, so you can play it live and then not have it save. That's interesting. Play music because it's expected for you to play it on stream. I mean, so that's the thing, is like, when I was trying this originally, I was doing that, where I was like, I need to be watching the chat 100% of the time, and I need to have music playing. And I was really craving having someone to chat with while I was painting. So I was like trying to invite friends, and I was like, I'm going to be streaming at 10. Can you like come on and hang out? And there was this expectation of them having to be like a performer or something. You know, like they were supposed to be interesting, or I was supposed to be interviewing them or something like that. And that wasn't really the point. I just wanted there to be like not dead air. And then, you know, because now this is kind of pivoting off of Discord, it's been really easy, especially with the Discord overlay on OBS, to just like be like, okay, we're just gonna be doing the chit chat, and then that's like, to me, is like the normal way of painting online, is hanging out with people in a voice chat. Yeah,
it makes sense.
So that's why. So if you guys ever want to like say things. Like, don't feel like you're interrupting.
I do have a
Hey, stop
question,
interrupting,
though.
all right? Listen.
All right. Well,
See, Jay, you've spoken enough, okay? What's up? Sorry.
Damn it, Jay.
Sorry, what's up? I was just trying to do it funny.
you did a great funny. I just wanted to make it awkward for everyone else.
Okay.
I was actually just like curious because you had talked about the efficiency rate has dropped significantly. Do you think the value of having people to like chat with outweighs the potential efficiency loss?
Yeah, it's a sort of like consistency versus intensity challenge. Like, just like, I think with a lot of things, there is a certain like balance between efficiency and consistency, or intensity and consistency. So it's like the desire is always to go towards intensity. Like, you're like, I know we do a lot of like exercise metaphors around here, but it's like, you know, okay, am I going to try to like absolutely maximize my workout in terms of like how intense I'm doing it, and do like all of like do more reps, more sets, like do like be in the gym more often and try to like up the intensity? But then like everybody who is in shape is always like, yeah, none of that shit matters. The whole point is that you just need to like make it into a habit and just be there 3 times a week and just keep going. And like what people always do is they try to like maximize for intensity, and then they burn out, and then it doesn't matter because they don't keep going. And that's I think true in a lot of things. I think that's like that's a big theory of mine going right now, is it's like that's true in a lot of different ways, that people have a bias towards intensity when really like consistency is the effective thing, and that's what we should always be maximizing for. So like when it comes to like chatting online, it's like if it gets me into the room where I'm chit-chatting with people, if like the chit-chat gets me painting for 3 or 4 hours a day as opposed to 0 hours a day, then it doesn't matter if I'm like at a slightly lower level of productivity, because I get so much more out of it.
Oh,
What were you gonna say?
cool.
Were you gonna say, Books?
Well, no, first of all, I mostly agree with what you're talking about, where people do have a bias towards intensity. But I do think I think there's a couple of things going on. Number one, there's active like learning, and then there's passive learning. So passive learning is going to happen kind of all the time. But so that's where the consistency really helps, because as long as you keep doing it, you're always getting some benefit. But it's hard to really change your perception when you're not fully locked in. So that passive learning is great for, like, I consider learning in like 3 phases, right? There are things where you have no idea what you're doing and you're just learning the lay of the land. There are things where you understand it, but it's not a habit yet. And then there's things that you do well and they're in your autopilot and you're just refining them a little bit, right? So when you're working on the second and the third, consistency is great. But when you're working on the fourth, you need the intensity, and that intensity is fatiguing, right? This fatigue is in every area. Like competitive gaming, they call it mental stack. You can only take in so much information at a time before your brain is like, okay, stop, let me put that into the files now. Like, you gave me a lot of new stuff, now let me put that in. So if somebody was learning to paint and they didn't know what they were doing, and they have to start to see the world in terms of form and light, don't start chatting with your friends while you're doing that, because your brain isn't acclimated to the activity yet. But if someone knows how to do that and they're like, I just need to paint 700 portraits to improve, then yeah, you can chat, because at the end of the day, you're going to have a certain amount of portrait work done. And at the end of the week, you can take that time and you can put the intensity retrospectively, right? You can say, okay, the consistency got me here. I did this volume of work. Here are my habits. And now, and you actually talked about this a little bit yesterday, now I can recalibrate for that consistency. And what I mean by that is this. You were talking about how you don't know how much these are getting better, right? And I think once you're starting to get good at something, sometimes you have to work on something with a very targeted goal. That targeted goal doesn't have to totally envelop the activity, but let's just say hypothetically, you were going to say, I just need to play around with these brushes, right? I just need to see how many textures I can get out of these brushes. That progress is easier to track than abstractly, am I getting better? If somebody, we were talking a lot about composition yesterday. If somebody was like, I'm going to really focus on silhouette this week. Okay, that's one part of your brain that's locked into that. The rest of you can passively learn, can chat. Just being in the desk is great. And then at the end of the week, you go, okay, my silhouettes either did improve or they didn't improve. But now I can see exactly where my brain hasn't adapted and locked in. So I do think it's kind of complex, but overall, all of it is useful. The high intensity is extremely useful for changing your mind and adapting it to the activity. The consistency is extremely useful because if you're intense all the time, your fatigue is going to go up. And if you're fatigued, not only are you going to work less because you have less energy, but also for a lot of people, most people really, the feeling of losing that energy feels bad. Like effort over a prolonged period of time feels bad. And so if you're sitting down, last thing, if you're sitting down like playing video games or eating a donut, two things which are extremely pleasurable, and then you're like, I have to go do the effort thing. There's a part of your brain that goes, no, I don't want to do the effort thing. Let's just sit here and eat another donut. As opposed to if you're like, I'm going to go and chat and paint and it's going to be a lot of fun, your brain's like, okay, yeah, we'll do that. Maybe that's better than being frustrated in Overwatch for an hour.
Yeah. Is this maybe the difference between like a master study versus like a daily study?
I don't know, man. I just think like the thing I'm always trying to avoid is not like, because like I agree that there's something out of like intense focus that is valuable and irreplaceable, but the way in which people fail is typically not like that they've been doing dailies for 300 days, but they've been failing to do it with the correct intensity. Like the thing that fucks me up is like I just stop like 100%, like stop going to the gym, stop like eating well, stop like studying, stop like experimenting. Like I just fully quit. And I think a lot of people end up in that situation where like the risk is like a total abandonment of the activity. And so it's not even necessarily tied to burnout. I think it's just like, we push ourselves to like try to be the best. And then when we let ourselves down a little bit, we just avoid the thought and we quit. And trying to avoid quitting and like sticking with something long term, that's I think the real challenge when it comes to whether health or education. Like there's definitely instances like we've talked like, hey, is there ever some, like Jazz was asking me like, hey, have you ever known anybody that's like worked really consistently for like 10 years and never got better? And I'm like, yeah, a couple of times. But like, so it's possible that somebody could screw it up bad enough that they could end up, being really consistent for a long period of time and still never get better. But like,
really rare though.
It's really rare. Like the place where like it's right. It's correct advice, but it presumes that people are actually going to like do it, and like that's unlikely. Like the vast majority of people fail through lack of consistency, not lack of intensity. Which is why I've been thinking about it so much, because I'm trying to think about like, hey, if I'm going to try to help people get an art education, like how do I help the most people? And I think that like, it's worth talking about the balance of the two. But there's a point where like when it's in like a public setting, and we're talking about more universal truisms, I think it's really important to leave the most simplified version of it on the table and say, hey, if you're going to maximize for anything, just like generalized advice, like maximize for consistency and just, don't catch yourself trying to make everything perfect and stop. Like see if you can resist it, because it's not the point where you're likely to screw it up.
So I think the problem I've been trying to solve for myself is what is the fastest way to achieve results that make me happy that would drive consistency? Because like the only thing that's going to get me to keep coming back is that I'm producing results that make me generally happy.
Yeah.
So like, how do you get people making cool things as quickly as possible?
Well, I mean, I think the first thing is that like you have to have an expectation for like what your standards are. Like I one of these streams, I'm gonna show some of my like year one art. It's fucking bad, dude. Like it's not better than the average like middle schooler, you know. And at that age, I was just like, this is. People around me were telling me like, this is incredible, and I was like, this is awesome. I'm enjoying myself. But then I see people around, you know, I've seen people on the internet who have tried art for the first time, and they've done an excellent job with it. And they just feel like because they're not, you know, designing this world that has been floating around in their head, they're a failure, they're disappointed, they're not enjoying the experience, and they're ready to quit. And I think a lot of it comes back to like the sort of relative perception about like what are you hoping to get out of this? Like what are we coming here for? Because if the plan is to try to come here for building your own custom IP or like designing a movie or like starting an animation studio and you've never made art before, like you're going to have a bad time. So like for me, I want to get people into appreciating the things that are good about the early stages of art, because it's not about getting to a certain point where it starts to become pleasurable. It's like it's possible to enjoy the process even when you are unskilled. I just think it takes a certain amount of understanding about like what you are expecting for yourself, like what you're getting out of it. Being aware of like that experience that you're having as it's happening, because man, there's like a lot of times where I've thought about like whether or not I'm having a good time or a bad time while I'm painting, and it really goes up and down quite a lot. And I have a really clear sense of it because I've spent a lot of time doing this, and I have a pretty good internal like interoception, to use a technical term, for like what I'm experiencing while I'm painting. But like the average beginner won't. So
I think you guys both brought up some really valuable things, right? Mm-hmm. So first I want to address what Jay said, which it was actually, I'm so glad you said this. You said, I need to see, I'm paraphrasing to make it more universal, but basically I need to see evidence that makes me want to show up again, right? Mm. And so the whole thing about consistency, you can't get results without consistency. It is absolutely necessary. Yeah. Now, I think on the flip side, you can't get dramatic results. You can't break through plateaus without intensity. This is also proven against anything in which anyone's trying to change, right? So they're both needed. For every individual, it's a different problem. Some people don't have a problem showing up, they have a problem pushing themselves. Some people don't have a problem pushing themselves, they have a problem showing up. There's no one size fits all solution aside from getting people to be honest with themselves, which is what you both have kind of alluded to, right? If you understand your goals, if you understand your motivation a little better, then you can be more forgiving of yourself. And you can get it outside of the universal, outside of the abstract. I can't stand terms like I'm trying to get better, because that just literally, that's nonsense, right?
Yeah, because you can always criticize yourself for not being good enough. Like it's impossible to make real measurements, you know, about yourself.
Yeah,
in those terms.
It's the eternally lost war. And so measurements, that's a great term. So when teaching people art and guitar, what I have found to be the absolute most important factor is their own motivation and energy. Their imagination is going to power their improvement and their joy. So I need to get them to access that. And so the thing that works basically every single time is if I can show that person that they can improve. Because when people say, I want to be this great, I want to be this good, I always throw that out of the window basically 100% of the time if they're an amateur. And there's a specific reason, because they don't know what they're talking about, right? Like if you've never been a professional, your view of your life as a professional is largely speculative. Your opinions on what makes a great artist are largely speculative. it doesn't mean that your taste is invalid. It doesn't mean that your desires are invalid. It just means that the details are invalid. So we need to get you out of associating the details of your success with your ego, right? That's not important. It's important to have goals. It's just not important to have your ego respond to those goals in a detailed way that's based on the fiction of your mind of like how good this person really is or how much you really suck and all of these things that really don't help. But once people just detach themselves a little bit and they just acknowledge just a little bit of humility, like if you have a favorite artist and you think they're the best, just understand that that's your opinion. That's not like some kind of, clinically
it's just
accurate,
like your opinion, man. Like
That's
literally, right? So once you just invite a little bit of humility, the benefit of humility is it lets your ego off the hook a little bit. You say you don't need to judge yourself so harshly, and also you don't need to judge other people so harshly, right? It's an ecosystem that all works. If you lift the judgment off of other people, you also lift the judgment of yourself.
Yeah.
You can still appreciate them, and then you can also appreciate yourself. So then the point is, here's you improving. The fastest I can show you improving, now it doesn't take some grand leap of your imagination to go, I can one day be my favorite artist. Now you just say, oh, well, I can improve. And if I improved today and I can improve, 2 more days this week, and I put a bunch of weeks together, who knows what that looks like? And that kind of excitement and imagination is the thing that solves what Jay's talking about, where obviously there's no get rich quick artistic solution to, immediately transform you into what you view as a splendid artist who's super successful.
Yeah, unless you become a subscriber to Huckleberry Art Academy, in which case we guarantee it.
Get locked in.
Money back guarantee.
I think
I would say this last thing. There are things that you can do to improve right now, because most artistic improvement is not about your rendering skills or, people always say, I can't draw in a straight line. Most of your artistic improvement is about how your mind works. And you can open the door of changing how your mind works in an instant. The rest of it is the fine-tuning, iterative practice that allows you to turn that mind change into consistent and evolving results.
Yeah, for instance, for me, I'm very results oriented. But even in baby steps. So I like weightlifting a lot, for instance, because I can always put on more weight. Generally, right? If I'm doing things right, I'm sticking to a good routine, I can generally see weight transfer to actual something trackable. In volleyball, this is my new big obsession. I picked up volleyball in April with my partner, and I never touched a ball in my life. But the reason
Not even college?
No, I've never touched. I literally never.
Can I add something?
But what keeps me coming back is that volleyball is super technical, and so while my athleticism carries over in some degree, what I can go in for a 5-hour session and I can focus on a specific thing, and then next time I try it, I almost always see some sort of result. In art, I have not had that experience. I have yet had that experience once in art.
But
I can tell you exactly.
Can I add something? Can I interrupt for a moment?
Yeah.
So, long story short, a lot of people will say, yeah, you need to improve, but it's in those vague ways, give very general advice, when really what a lot of people, as for example, as you just mentioned, really what they want is a way to actually track their improvement. But that's the thing, you cannot really track your improvement unless you have a specific goal or desire in mind. You cannot do that at all. For example, you might say, yes, I want to become a good artist, I want to start making comic books, but that's way too wide. It's like saying, I want to become the best volleyball player.
Well, yeah, that's not what I'm saying, though. I'm saying I'm focusing on things, right?
Yeah, yeah, I know, but for example, let's say that you want to, the achievement that you need to want to do, it needs to be specific. It needs to be as specific as possible. If you don't have an idea as to whether you're improving or not, what you're trying to improve on is not specific enough.
So art is just like the problem I'm having with art is that art is very much it's a collection of skills working together. And so in the beginning, when all of your skills are bad, what the things you may be good at and just practice don't reflect because everything else is bad. Volleyball, you can be a good passer. They just put you in the back row, and that's what you do. I can be a good hitter. They put me outside, and that's what I do. I can't just be good at perspective. I can't just be good at
yes.
Here's
the thing.
I get that, but hold on.
Go ahead.
Even then, I still feel like you can effectively specialize yourself in specific ways. You can effectively forge an art style that focuses on things that you have at least one grasp on, rather than being required, you trying to achieve an art style that requires a lot of skills that you currently don't have. That's the thing. Like art styles, in a sense, people that say, people often say that having an art style early can be a crutch. It can be, but that's the thing. Sometimes you do need to have a little crutch. If your leg is fucking broken, will you tell someone to not use a crutch because it's a crutch?
I don't know. I don't know. Like
I've lost track. I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about anymore.
I would slap it out of their hand at the grocery store and yell at them.
I get what you're saying, but I don't know. That maybe just hasn't been my experience. Folks, it sounds like
there's something Jay said that was actually really smart. Like, I really do. I think that art is a collection of discrete skills. Like, to get good at art is one of the reasons it's so tough to define is because it is a set of discrete skills that's like not so easy to pin down. Because I mean, you can say, oh, perspective, but getting good at perspective is also a set of discrete skills. Like, I know people that all they draw is like city scenes, and they like don't do any kind of classical perspective. So like there's a lot of ways in which people can create any given effect, whether it's like drawing anatomy or cities or whatever, without knowing like all of the underlying skills, because there's a sort of like undefinable suite of like discrete skills that underpin the whole thing, and it makes it very difficult to like say exactly what somebody is good at. Like the amount of like vocabulary that comes into even describing what's good about a piece of art gets really extensive really fast. Like as soon as you start watching somebody try to describe like art history or explain why like a famous piece of art is like actually famous and why it's a masterpiece, like it like even for me, someone who's been in this game for a long time, it like goes over my head almost immediately, because the amount of like vocabulary necessary to describe all the different discrete parts about what is accomplished about a piece of art, it's really, really extensive. So it is sometimes very difficult for us to pin down like how we're getting better and what skills we're getting better at, when it's difficult to define what better even means, and with so many potential axes for improvement, what does that even amount to specifically? Like sometimes I see that manifest in the form of people just like focusing on one very specific skill. Like you see people who they want to learn to draw, and so they just focus on photorealistic graphite rendering, because like it reduces the number of variables. It allows you to focus in terms of study. And then you can also then look at it and say like, this drawing is more realistic than this drawing, therefore I've improved, which is convenient for the sake of your own identity, but it's not necessarily like getting better at art the way that we all imagine it.
I mean, I will kind of disagree on that. If you find a path that you both enjoy and that gives you clear guidance, honestly, sticking with that path will typically bring you the best results.
No, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying that it's what I see is like because people want to have like strong specific results, like the inclination is to get hyper specific about what that means, like to define that down to the minimum possible range in order to not get overly confused about it all. Which is, it's not a bad thing. It's just I'm just saying it's a more narrow definition about like what we're discussing here.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You gotta be somewhat narrow in some. Eventually, you'll need to be narrow at some level, regardless.
But we're talking about like Pete's trying to teach brand new people how to do art, and so like you can't. I think what I'm trying to say is that the initial wall required to be reasonable at art is much higher than perhaps other skills.
But that is the problem, though. Defining reasonable is not a fixed definition, and so a lot of it comes back to your own self-perception, and like not really about how good you are at art in some broader sense, but like the ways in which you're defining your own success.
Yeah, but that's another thing I'll say. Like, being good at art, like saying I am good at visual art, is like saying I am good at sport.
Yeah.
It might be true, it might be not, but regardless, it's a very, very wide statement.
Yes, I agree fully.
I am kind of the opinion that attempting to micromanage how you feel about art all the time is like a mistake.
Yeah, it kind of is. But what I'm trying to say more so is that you shouldn't look at art as a single thing, ever. Like, if you're trying to teach someone, fundamentally, there is a flaw to trying to teach a beginner how to do art as a whole. It's like trying to teach a beginner how to do sports as a whole, rather than teaching them one or another sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that the way you close that up kind of targets what I was about to say, which is basically the reason you can't define art improvements the way you can define volleyball improvements is because we do a much better job of defining volleyball or any sport, and I'm a big sports fan. So especially with basketball.
Name all the sports.
Exactly. So, you know, when we define sports on a granular level because there's an end goal, and so we've gotten really refined about how to say, okay, this sport, here's a collection of team sports. Okay, this team sport happens indoors, outdoors. This is a team sport involving a net. This is volleyball. In volleyball, here are the roles. You have setter, passer, server. Here are the skills involved in the different roles, right? And then it gets to the detailed point to where, you know, a professional can go to an even more refined way. In art, we don't do that, right? We go good art, bad art. I like it, I don't like it. That's the context of art that you come into. So what I was saying before, you have to redefine that context and say, well, what is it that I personally really love? Where would I personally really love to be? Okay, now let me start to give that a context that's manageable. Because we already know, as everyone has, I think, pretty much agreed on, the context of good, bad, success, fail is nonsense. It's not just unmanageable. It doesn't make sense, right? Then you need a context of, I want to be a great graphite portrait artist or whatever it may be. So once you have that context, as an amateur, as someone who's brand new to art, you should contextualize by very fundamental things. So shape, light, design, specific informational arts. So anatomy is an informational art, right? Drawing a car is an informational art where you have to know enough about a car to draw it accurately, right? So you can say, oh, I'm working on cars this week. You might not be getting better specifically as an artist. You're not working on the art skills, but you've learned more about the information, which has made your cars look better. So people on the outside would say, ooh, you got better at drawing cars. Well, it's like, no, none of my drawing skills improved. My understanding of cars improved. As an artist, you have to be able to compartmentalize in that way so that you can see your gains, so that you can kind of get that feedback of, oh, I got better at this and I'm satisfied with that.
Yeah. But
Amen.
Yeah, that's exactly. Honestly, that kind of compiles everything I would probably say. Like, but to add to that, I still another thing I'll say is that sorry, words are very bad for me because I'm autistic. But what I would say is that a good way to actually start, yeah, like you need to have specific goals, but you also kind of need to choose a specific discipline within visual arts too. Like you cannot just tell yourself, yeah, I want to be, because for example, learning, for example, lighting and shading while doing charcoal is different from learning how to do lighting and shading within the context of fixed art, which is different from lighting and shading within the context of painting and so on and so forth. It's like asking someone.
I disagree with that to the extreme.
No,
I don't think that that's true.
No, I don't mean as in they don't share the same fundamental concepts. I mean those same concepts that are shared across the board are applied in different ways.
I don't think that's important in art though. Like, so
No,
we were talking yesterday about somebody wanted to get into 3D art. And we were saying, well, the two people who understand 2D art find it very quick to adapt. When you look at using a pencil on paper and you look at controlling ZBrush or a Blender, the mediums couldn't be any more different. But the mind's understanding of the fundamentals takes what could be a 4-year curriculum for one person and turn it into a few weekends of learning the tools for other people. And I've literally seen this. So while those differences exist, I don't think the differences of medium are anything an artist should ever focus on until they're literally learning that thing.
Yeah, I know. But here's it. All right, so you're not wrong. But what I mean is, for example, would you agree with me that throwing a good kick in, for example, karate, can will apply a lot of the same muscles as taking a leap in some forms of gymnastics, or starting to run, or starting a sprint, or even kicking a ball in soccer? Would you agree that they share a lot of the same muscles? That would be, and that those muscles would be would be similarly useful across those very different activities?
I actually wouldn't. And like I said, I'm a big sports fan. When Michael Jordan switched to baseball, he said the hardest thing about coming back to play basketball is that all of the exercises that he did to be a good baseball player made him way worse at trying to be a basketball player.
Yeah,
right?
I know, but what I mean is more so, sometimes some actions are shared across different activities. For example, I guess a kick would probably be the worst example possible because there are so many different kicks. But for example, having good cardio will be useful in, for example, doing a track and field, soccer, baseball, so on, right? Like having good cardio. Fundamentals are usually kind of like having good cardio or having good general health. It will help you across the board. It's not going to be. It will help you across the board, even though the different activities are just functionally different. Does this analogy work a bit better?
I don't think so. To be, and I'm just being honest. I don't think that analogy works because the thing about art is that the fundamentals they all have the same goal, right? So when you learn the fundamentals of lighting, the rules don't change from painting to drawing to working in 3D art in whatever medium you're using. Yeah. So your mind doesn't really know the difference. But when you apply cardio in, say, wrestling or like UFC versus cardio in basketball, your body is like, whoa, dude, this is really different. I'm super tired right now. This is not the same thing we've been doing. I don't think that disconnect happens artistically. Artistically, once you understand the tools, I mean, I haven't seen it in my professional career with like my friends who've switched mediums. Usually the people who have those troubles actually didn't have as strong of a fundamental base as they thought they did. They were using the medium to cover up fundamental gaps. So like people who were really good at coloring in one program, then they switch to markers and they suck. It's like, oh, you didn't really understand color theory. You were just using these Photoshop effects. And now you have to go back and really learn color harmony, so that when you do switch to any program or any medium, you can pick up acrylics now and translate that very quickly. Now that your fundamentals are stronger, I've never ever in my life seen someone with really strong fundamentals struggle just because of the medium amongst professional artists. Now that's just me, that's just what I've seen.
Is my brain broken, or are you two actually like agreeing with one another?
Dude, I'm like trying out these brushes, and like I'm absorbed in the painting, and I am finding it really hard to pick apart this thread mentally while also doing something else. I'm fucking
I love
100% lost.
But yeah, I have a feeling that we're probably agreeing, but because I keep sounding argumentative, because that's kind of how I sound. People think I'm just arguing with them over and over again, despite me actually agreeing very often.
Are both of you guys saying that like there are skills in art that if you develop them, they're useful no matter what mediums or like subject matter you're doing? Is that is that what both of you are saying?
Yeah, basically. Dang.
Yes.
That would explain why I couldn't figure out what the argument was about.
But that wasn't the point of contention. The point of contention was when you study fundamentals, do you have to, so the same way, like if you were going to study volleyball or say wrestling, whatever it is, you have to now condition your body specifically for that skill. In art, that's not true. It's almost like if just catching was a skill that you could apply to everything and you could just use one catching drill that would work across all sports. Not true, because balls are shaped differently and made differently.
Yeah.
But it's true to an extent, right? That if you can just practice catching and you'll be more prepared to play other things. That's not an efficient way to practice sport, but it is an efficient way to practice art. So if you are like, I don't know if I really want to be, a painter or a drawer or whatever, but at the end of the day, you're doing still art, well, you can focus on the fundamentals of still art, regardless of medium. If you want to be an animator, but you don't know if you want to be a 3D animator or hand-drawn or a finisher or whatever, you can study the principles of movement and decide later on specifically what you enjoy the most. Right? You can study the fundamentals of light and shape and form, and later on decide, okay, now that I understand form, I actually feel more inclined to do this. That's perfectly okay in art. In sports, it's a really bad idea.
Yeah, but at the same time, one thing that I said earlier was essentially that I think the reason why we kind of had that point of contention is because of something I've said earlier about how we should not stigmatize using an art style or a medium as a crutch, because it allows people that otherwise would not be able to do any given artwork to actually start doing things and start learning and seeing tangible improvement as they learn their fundamentals.
Oh, if someone has a specific thing that they want to do, I'd say go good. Congratulations, right? That makes it easier to learn and specify your study. But if someone doesn't, that's not prohibitive. I don't think they need to find that first. If you don't have a specific thing, that's fine. That won't slow down your learning. Focus on the core fundamental principles of art.
I mean, it will slow down the learning, or at least it will slow down the perceived learning.
Yeah, that's probably our point of disagreement. You can say I'm getting better at, drawing shapes and know that you're improving at form.
Yeah, but it's very hard to actually see it as my stuff is actually starting to get good. Like, meanwhile, if, for example,
Has this maybe become a circular argument?
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna have to swap conversation topics. It's not going anywhere.
What's everybody's favorite flavor of pie?
Dude, I've had a few key lime pies down here that's been pretty fucking good. They also got around here in Florida the peanut butter pie, which I've never seen anywhere else.
What?
Peanut butter pie.
I am curious.
Those are two good words that go good together. I recommend it.
It's a good question, Gralians. It never doesn't start a conversation. Everyone has opinions on it. You're a genius.
I am.
Can I do like a quick commercial?
Rhubarb guy, I love myself some rhubarb pie.
Hell yeah.
Oh, still talking about.
What were you gonna say, Jazz?
I was just gonna man, I had like a weird experience happen last night. I have like barely drawn this year. I don't know. It's relatively to like the year before, because I had that period where like I got really depressed.
Sure.
And then I joined this Discord server, and it cured my depression. If you also join the Huckleberry
if you join the Huckleberry Discord server, we can guarantee you money back guarantee you are going to cure your depression forever.
Yep, you'll never be sad again.
Yep.
I mean,
Oh
shoot,
shit! I almost forgot. Armored Core is coming out today.
Armored Core, I thought it was coming out tomorrow.
It's on the 24th. We're the
Coming out
24th.
today? Fuck. Okay, better finish up this stream.
Man, I am not excited for Armored Core, despite being a FromSoft fan.
All right, well, you can shut the
that's
hell up.
perfectly
Jazz, what were you
reasonable.
saying? What was it? You sound like you're edging towards a point.
Yeah. I barely drew for like 4 months or something ridiculous. One of the things I did draw was I was like trying to draw my D&D character, and I had a thumbnail that like looked kind of cool. But as soon as I started refining it, I realized like, oh, it looks cool because it's vague, and like I can't find the like what it actually is in it, and I like got frustrated and gave up, especially because I had like no motivation or whatever. And my D&D character was just like a dude in armor, and I haven't drawn any like dudes in armor since then. And like I've only been here like drawing every day on like the Huckleberry Art Academy for like a month or something, right? Dude, I was just like picking at that thumbnail randomly, and I like got 10 times better at drawing dudes with armor, and I have no idea why.
Oh.
I think it has something to do with the Huckleberry Art Academy.
Yeah,
which is why
just
you
the vibes.
need to join.
But I want to say thank you to Mia Yusian, who gave me a tier 1 sub about 24 minutes ago, and I like missed the notification. And then Casey Conquesto, thanks for the Prime sub you just dropped. I really appreciate both of you guys. Got to do the shout outs. We got to do the shout outs. People are putting $5 up. At the very least, they should get a shout out.
Yeah.
Wait, yeah,
Got
like,
in 10
the game is unlocking in 4 hours.
Fuck. Okay, well, that's good. I'm not going to be streaming by then. I got some stuff to do, though, after I get off stream. I had a slow-ass morning, and it was awesome.
Anyway.
And I was, like, kind of planning for, like, tomorrow, having a little bit more Armored Core. But, yeah, Jazz, it's, like, it's hard to pin down the intangibles of, like, why sometimes you're, like, good at something and why you're bad at it. I found that in some cases for me, it was a matter of like what I was seeing a lot of. Like I had this the first time I had that experience was in college. I had an art history course, and I was noticing that I was better at drawing my OCs during the art history class. That like I was trying to doodle during all of my classes, but like I was getting the most productive doodling done in art history, and then I realized like that was the time in my day when I was taking in like a humongous amount of like classical art, and so I was just passively looking at classical art for 3 straight hours, and that like drawing in an environment where I was like subconsciously taking in a ton of art was doing me a huge amount of good in terms of like being able to like, you know, just pull off anatomy, design. Like if you have been hanging out and like watching other people paint and like just being passively absorbing like the atmosphere, I think it actually does more than we're willing to count in a lot of cases. That there is like a certain amount of art osmosis that's always possible, and it's dangerous to say, hey, art osmosis is the key. You just need to like soak in it or whatever, because that's just going to lead people to, I don't know, like, you know, claim that going to museums all the time or like looking at art on the internet is like the key to getting better, because like you need to be doing it too. But like doing art in a fucking box, like going full monk mode and doing nothing but like sitting in your room by yourself trying to draw without any interaction with other people and without any exposure to other art is like not a good idea. Being a part of a community is like, and like being actively a part of an art community while you're working has real potential to cause like significant results almost immediately. Like one of the big goals for Huckleberry at large was to like, you know, we're starting with building the community first and then like adding in like the explicit educational programs later. because like I know that like unless we can have a space where people are genuinely hanging out working and it's not just a fucking dead Discord or like a paid Discord that like nobody's using, like unless there's actual activity, like it's not going to be helpful to people. So like, you know, this is the key for like a lot of things, whether like I've heard this about all kinds of personal improvement, that like being a part of a community can be the make or break all the time. And like you can get a certain amount of that passively by just like curating the way that you take in media, but it's just way easier when you're doing it with other people, I think. I've been feeling it too. Like I'm looking at art all the time more. I'm like spending more time kind of at the board, just kind of doodling on whatever, and it's making the things that I care about like way easier to finish.
Yeah, totally. I feel like my painting's leveling up too, and I think part of it is literally just talking to people who are good at painting. Like,
yeah, it's a little woo, right? It's a little woo, but we all want a little woo, right? Maybe not build our whole lives around it, but like we want a little bit.
Yeah.
But another thing I'll say alongside that is that I mentioned how some people will use crutches, but there's kind of a trick to using the crutches. Some art styles allow you to essentially wave away some parts of your learning. For example, you need to learn form a bit less when you're doing pixel art. You need to learn, for example, color is less important to understand when you're inking. Like, I'm not saying I'm not claiming that those skills are not important in those two mediums, but at the same time, they are less applicable overall.
You hear that, pixel artists and inkers,
Yeah.
and called out here on the Huckleberry art Discord.
And I'm speaking from experience.
Kim says art is woo. Art, that the overlap of art and woo is like hard to deny. Like, I mean, there's always been a certain amount of art that like descends back into woo, and I don't mind. I'm not somebody who's naturally drawn to it too much, so I feel like it's like a discovery for me to like have a little woo in my life through art. But yeah, I kind of dig it. I kind of dig that part of it. And I want to like introduce other people to it because it like a lot of art is sort of systematized and made technical. But yeah, I don't want to descend fully down into that rabbit hole because that's down there be like a lot of shitty collage art where people are just making collage art about their trauma or whatever. Yeah. That is not where we're headed. Hopefully, if you guys Sorry, go ahead.
I think a word that you used that was really good earlier was curation, and I think that's one of the strengths and the weaknesses of things like community is that it creates a space where what you're paying attention to is curated. It's like if you join a Huckleberry art Discord versus an Overwatch, Rage ranked server, it's gonna just having your environment curated in a way that we can only consume so much information in a day at any given point in time, and because of that, what kind of information we choose to fill our minds with is sort of what we're going to output. It's like the diet. You can only export the activity that your diet, the intake of food, allows you to.
Yeah. The media diet I think is really important. Like to make
exactly.
sure. Like I deleted this last month or so. I finally deleted Twitter off my phone. I was like, any downtime I had, I was just like scrolling through the like discovery page looking for something sensational, and it was a lame way to spend my free time.
Honestly, at this point, the only time that I see Twitter is in my emails whenever I get a notification for someone that I'm following. I don't even browse the website anymore. I just click on the link, see the picture, and then move on.
But there's like a lot that like sometimes I'll feel like my like media diet has gone off the rails a bit, and I'll try to move to correct it because I I really think it affects like my day-to-day mood and my productivity and like, you know, how I'm expressing myself. So it's important to like keep a bit of an eye on that, I think, for everybody.
Hey Jay, you know what you were saying before about being kind of results oriented and like feeling like you can't do art unless it's like producing something that's like up to your standards or whatever? Oh, is Jay even still here?
He's also Jay went away. Jay's like always streaming from his job. I don't know how he gets away with it so much. Then he like periodically has to like do work, and you can see he's deafened. So he
His boss probably doesn't give a shit or something like that.
Okay, I'll have plenty of opportunities to talk to him. He's in here.
Kim's saying that she took the Twitter off her phone and also was blocking it on her browser, and it made a huge difference to her mental health. I tried that for a while. I had problems with like Reddit also. And I was almost immediately, like when I wanted to feel bad and I wanted to waste time, like there was no amount of like blocking stuff or deleting stuff or like hiding it on my phone in a folder that would like keep me out of there. So a part of it for me has always been like actually wanting to improve and actually wanting to make my like day-to-day better. And at a time when I'm like feeling really bad and like I don't want to improve, like there's nothing that'll help. But at those moments when I know that I want something a little bit better, I want a better experience, I try to capitalize it by making changes like that, because those are the only times when it has the potential to stick. And you know, it was like I was noticing I really wanted to change the way I was spending my time, and like I was looking for a good opportunity for it, and that's when I was like, yeah, let's jettison Twitter forever. I mean, it's technically not even Twitter anymore, so who fucking cares? I don't want X on my phone. What a shitty name. Fuck X. You know, I still check it out on my browser every once in a while, but it's just like when I'm sitting at my computer, I have so many things I can be doing. I have so much that I'm interested in or that I like want to work on, and there's so many tasks. Like keeping everything organized and sticking on this stuff is like so much more engaging than endlessly browsing, like to see people like cyberbully each other, you know, on like on the website like that.
Yeah, Twitter is designed specifically to brew toxicity, and Elon Musk is basically removing all of the guardrails that prevented that toxicity from growing into an even bigger problem.
I mean, I would tell myself I was there for the art, but I mean, if I'm gonna be 100% honest, I'd say I was like when I was sitting down to scroll, I was primarily looking for some cyberbullying to like gawk at.
Honestly, the only reason I was there on Twitter was for specific artists, and as soon as they moved on, so did I.
So I'm trying out some of these brushes again. I feel like every time I sit down, I'm going to do some more brush experiments. And like some of them, I'm really happy with how they panned out. Like it almost immediately got me this like soft, streaky look on like the hair here. So now I'm just pulling in like a couple of like tighter flyaways. And I'm immediately like happy with how this came out. Because I have these like larger textural rest zones that are like an exaggeration of the lighting that's already in here, and then with a few tighter details overlaid on top of it, it feels like this suggestion of detail, which is what I'm always aiming for, and I never feel like I'm completely succeeding in. It's one of those things like I feel like I've been trying to challenge myself over and over again through these studies to do, which is to like figure out ways of like, you know, sort of suggest what I want without actually having to go through and like reproduce all the pixels in minute detail. Because like I can always spend the time to go and do all the little tiny things. Like that's never been the problem. Like since early on in my art career, I was willing to spend an unlimited amount of time on a painting to do tons of little tiny brushstrokes. And this now I'm trying to go back to a more like classical form of painting where I'm I'm like, I want to learn how people efficiently express themselves and like accomplish these things with some level of efficiency, partially so that I can achieve like a more effortless look to my painting, and partially so that I just don't get like bogged down in having to do a ton of details for no one. You know?
Yeah, the best way to actually learn efficiency is to make inefficient work either physically impossible or as inconvenient as possible.
Well, I've been
Work.
one of the issues I've dealt with over the course of the last 20 years of painting is that like my standards for how tight I should render keep getting higher and higher, especially with like higher resolution monitors and stuff. And I think that like 10 years ago, I actually like the density of my brushwork better than I do now. And I'm trying to find a way back there without like, but I don't think it's possible for me to like lower standards, like manually lower standards or lower the fidelity on my tools. Like I don't think it's a matter of like either committing to working fewer hours or working on like a lower resolution monitor again. I feel like I need to be careful about the ways in which I lower the fidelity on stuff.
Don't lower the resolution of your monitor. Get a smaller monitor, but if you want, but don't lower the resolution of your monitor.
I'm not doing either.
Try to. Okay, but
Wait,
one advice that I've seen.
why are you giving me? I don't understand why you're giving me advice on this. Also,
no. One advice that I've seen a lot of people apply and actually have a lot of success with is effectively to minimize the amount that they zoom in. Just outright, just say no more zooming in beyond a certain percentage.
Yeah. No, I know that. I just I'm the issue here is in like the efficiency of the mark making. So I'm been experimenting with it, and I feel like it's like one of those things that doing the studies has been incredibly helpful for, and like because it's like it's been a test bed for being able to experiment with some of these processes that I'm scared that I'm going to screw up my mainline work if I try them out on a piece.
How big is your? Another thing I wonder: how big is your default brush usually, relative to if you were to think of it as a percentage of your canvas?
It's the same as it's always been.
Yeah, but
all right.
How big is it about relative to your canvas?
All right. I'm not looking for critique on this subject.
Okay,
I'm gonna jump in.
I'll move on.
I'm gonna jump into that conversation.
Hey, Alan, how's it going, man? Good to see you.
Hey, it's going great. Good to hear you.
Oh fuck! I just noticed something. Oh my god, I've got to. I've better import my gradients. I'm on a new version of Photoshop, and I just realized that I opened up the gradient maps tab for the first time. It's a fucking disaster in here. Oh, the default ones in CC are garbage.
I've got all your gradients saved somewhere.
Oh yeah, I just added a couple of new ones, but
sometimes I use the gradient map, and sometimes I don't feel like it's just different process. But no, I was going to jump in.
Oh hey,
about the fidelity of that you're trying to achieve on like details on top of looser work that you're enjoying better. You're talking about how much you enjoy your brushwork and older stuff. It's so versus the rendering. It's so much easier to see that in other people's work.
Yeah.
Like, and you see it all the time. I've never been a fan. We went to Paris for our honeymoon like almost a year ago, and I've never been a fan of Renoir, Auguste Renoir. I've never liked his work. I always felt like it was a little too pastel colored, and I didn't like the way the people were. But that's beside the point. We went to a museum that only had his studies. And from, I don't know if it's just today's standards, but from just purely my perspective, I loved his studies on a level that I've never appreciated Renoir's finalized work. It was crazy to see someone who I've never enjoyed looking at just suddenly falling in love with their work.
Yeah, I had a really similar experience seeing like impressionist work over at the Art Institute in Chicago when I was back there like this summer. I was just like all the Van Gogh and Monet pieces. I was like, God damn, these are incredible. Like, and like it's pieces that I'd seen my whole life, but then now as like there's something clicked different as like a I don't know, just 20 years of like looking at art or whatever and having a different perspective. Like you get a little older and your perspective on the world changes a bit. And then like
Yeah, and I
this
think you
art
take some of it
suddenly
for
just
granted.
clicks in a way that's kind of crazy.
I think when you're learning, you take some of it for granted too. It's like, oh, I'll get there one day. But then you look back at some of those people you've grown up with, and you're like, maybe this is unlearnable, and I should view it as magic, and it's something I really need to strive for. I don't know. It's like you were talking about a little bit of the woo. I always, whenever I can look at somebody's work and it feels like magic to me. That's my version of woo. Always makes me happy.
Yeah, it's like you have that experience where like you saw someone's work when you were coming up, and it was like your favorite thing, and it was like incredibly magical. You're like, I can't understand how a human being could like see the world this way or create an image like this. And then like you'd study art for like 10 years, and then you look back at it and you're like, oh, that shit's easy. That's
Right.
like nothing.
Yeah, it's rare these days. But
then you look at other stuff and you go like, oh my god, this guy is the shit. And like people who aren't artists will like be like, why is that guy the shit? And you're like, you have no idea how hard it is, the thing that this guy is doing.
Right.
Like this guy is killing it in ways that like you don't even understand. And it was like the best example. I was at a Magic the Gathering like signing event or something, and some guy was like, who the worst Magic artist is? He's like, I think all Magic artists are great, but I think there's one of them that really sucks. And I was like, who? And he's like, Omar Rayan. And I'm like,
oh yeah,
dude, what? I'm like, that guy's a fucking genius. Like, that guy is like one of my favorite artists. Like, what is your problem?
yeah, he's that's one definitely on an artistic. Somebody explained to me once that there's artists that other artists love,
Yeah.
and no one else gets, and it's sort of right down that alley.
Oh my god, the when you go in the gradient maps on here, the folders aren't open by default. The previous one that you just had open.
I hate that.
It's one extra click that's entered my life, and now I'm just going to have to live with it forever.
I think you can just click and drag them all out of their individual things.
Oh, do you think? Oh, is there?
Into
oh my
one
god!
thing.
Oh my god! No,
you
you're
can select
right.
all and like drag them.
Oh, welcome to the next 10 minutes.
I can't. Anytime there's a new version and it messes up, I can't. It takes me like an hour to redo my workspace if it doesn't transport.
Do you ever do do you manually save your workspace?
Yeah. But like with the new, I'm working on Photoshop beta now.
Oh yeah, I
'cause-
tried it out to check the AI stuff, and it's fucking trash.
It only works if you're building like a reference image. Like if I'm working on something for an illustration, I need to be sitting in like a throne instead of a chair. It's really good because it's just pulling from the lighting structure in the photo. But if you do it with a painting, it's just like, oh, there's brush strokes. Let me put some random abstract brush strokes in.
I kept getting this thing where I'd be like, here, put this thing in a guy's hand, and it would just make clip art. And like I couldn't get it to make a style that wasn't like clip art. It was really
Yeah,
weird.
it really wants to make it cartoony. Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that cartoony is the default rather than photographic is very strange. All right.
Did I tell you I was on here? I don't know how long ago, and Photoshop's or Adobe sends out those surveys.
Wait, are you not at
And-
DragonCon? Is DragonCon happening right now?
No, it's September. I'm not going to be there because the venue, the vendor hall, told me to go back to the art show where I belong, and I refuse to go back to that dungeon.
Back that they
such a
won't let you
miserable
into
time.
the art show on the upstairs on the 4th floor.
I tried to get in the vendor hall, not the art show.
I know, but still, like, at least it's not the dungeon.
I had heard.
I thought
that,
it was funny that there was like Tim tried to get everyone to move from the 4th floor down into the dungeon because he's like, that's where all the collectors are. And then everyone moved down there and all their sales chopped in half. I was like, I could have told you guys not to do that. That was a terrible plan.
I saw Tim the year he did that, and he was like, I made a little bit less sales, but I had a better time. And it's like, how do you have a good time down here? It's miserable.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that was where I started with Dragon Con. So to me, being in the dungeon was Dragon Con.
Right.
And so I was always like, yeah, it's awesome being down there. And then as soon as I got out, I was like, I'm never going back. That place sucks. Hate this.
Yeah, I don't think
hate this
I
room.
I didn't realize how bad it was till Sarah, my wife, came to Gen Con with me, and she pointed out what a total difference it was. You know, Gen Con's open; it's in a giant room.
Yeah, but even in the dungeon, I was making more money at Dragon Con than I was at Gen Con, so I was like happy
Really?
about it. Yeah. Well, that was like way back in the day. That was before they had the America's Mart open also. So like as
didn't
the
used to
America's
have
Mart became the standard, like they it became nearly like everybody who went there was like, why would I go to like the basement of one of the hotels when all of the stuff is over at the America's Mart?
When
It's
did
like,
they
yeah.
start doing that? The American.
Oh, dude, I don't know. I mean, I haven't been at a con since 2019.
Yeah.
So that's like, was it 5 years ago at this point? And then we're talking, so we might be talking like 10 years ago. It's really that bad. Like my perspective on like what's recent history is like slowly catching up with Larry Elmore.
No, I was amazed. We went and got because they have a new setup. You can buy grid walls, all this other stuff. But I've got pro panels. It was amazing. 3 years, after COVID, and I made just as much money as I did with 2 times bigger setup. Where every other show, I've basically doubled my numbers. So there was something going on there.
At Gen
I
Con?
don't know. No, at Dragon Con.
Oh, okay.
Dragon Con. And everyone I talked to had terrible sales, like you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Except for-
What a good show, though. What a great show. I love it there. Never going back. I think it might be banned. Like, the problem is, like, if you have a spot in the vendor's hall and then you leave, like, I think you get lifetime banned.
Damn.
You think they're vindictive?
I don't think it's vindictive. I think it's like, there's such a high demand to be in there. They're like, we're not going to deal with people who waffle. Like, sorry, that's just the way we roll. That's the policy. Like, I haven't had them tell me that explicitly, but, when I had a table purchased for 2020, and then when it came to 2021, they were back on, I told them I was bowing out of all cons, which was true. And that I wasn't quitting Dragon Con, I was quitting all cons, and that, like, I had to cancel for that reason. And they're like, really sorry, we understand, but like it still might be that I'm not allowed to buy a table there anymore. Like I could probably get into the 4th floor, but I don't think I can get back in my, because I even like the people I sold a bunch of my gear to are actually in my old spot.
Yeah, I missed out on the gear buy. We always end up talking about cons.
Yeah.
When
What were we talking about besides cons?
Painting cool statues.
Painting cool statues?
Painting cool statues. Which are making me ever more money at cons, so
That's
I have
fantastic.
incentive to keep doing them. Hey, I got my first Magic card canceled out from under me.
What? They do that?
No, not my very first one. I've been doing them for like a year, but finally they got all the way to the finish, and then they were like, out of the blue, they're like, nah, we're gonna recommission it. No reason.
They're like, we're not going to use your art?
Yeah.
Whoa, that's weird.
It was super weird.
Wait, are you a Magic the Gathering artist?
Yeah.
Dope.
Ow.
Cool. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know you. I will go look you up right now.
I don't have any of my stuff published because it's not like it used to be. It's on like a 2-year backlog at this point.
What?
Oh, gotcha.
It's wild, yeah.
Big boat, huge boat. Yeah, they're running a huge ship over there.
Yeah, I can't show anything It's terrible too because I'm at conventions and I don't have anything new to show because it's all under NDA.
He talks about this all the time.
I talk about it too often. I should never talk about it ever again, to be honest.
The Magic thing, you give them free advertisement?
No, it comes up
not
like
owning your own things to show.
it always comes up like as something related to when anything ever related to commercial art comes up. Magic is one of the things, like the context that I know that I have like most strongly for commercial art because of like it's something that one of the ways in which I worked most on commercial art. The most commissions I got was from Magic.
Right.
Why is Control A not working? Oh my god, it's just lag. This version of Photoshop is acting in ways that make me worried at times. All right. But yeah, so anytime commercial art comes up, like I start talking about Magic, and then I think later, man, I should really stop talking about that. I haven't worked for them for 10 years. There's all kinds of bad blood. Like I shouldn't be bringing it up if I don't have not a lot of nice things to say. And yet it keeps coming up, and I think, man, I should stop doing that.
I think it keeps coming up because it's one of the highest paying jobs you can get as an illustrator.
Oof.
Outside of working in-house or working for yourself.
Man, the Magic artists need to fucking unionize. It's so bad.
Yeah, they do. They do. It's bad when the highest paying job caps out at like $5,000 for a card.
I never even seen the highest they capped out when I was working for them was $2,000.
Ooh.
I never heard of somebody getting $5,000. I heard of somebody getting $3,000, and I thought that was crazy for like some sort of premium thing that was like for a Secret Lair set or something. I was like, wow, okay, it's great that they finally brought the rates up a bit.
I don't think it was a bad blood thing I was mentioning. It was more so chiming on the fact that like you talk about how important it is to have your own projects to show for yourself.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Rather than waiting on the Magic stuff. I never wanted to be a Magic artist.
It's like really rough because you want, like, you would like I assume to make sales of your own art, but like Wizards owns it, so you can't, so.
Well, you can make print sales of some Magic cards. It used to be all, but then they now it's only some.
Yeah, they're really tightening down on it. Like
that's
crazy. On a Secret Lair thing that I can't make prints of.
Yeah, exactly, and that seems nuts to me because like that was one of when I would always criticize it, people would say, well, you don't need the copyright. You got to be able to make the prints. What do you need the copyright for? And then they took away the prints for a bunch of stuff, and it was like, not that the prints were even always worth it, because like there was plenty of art that just can't make a good print.
Right. Yeah, I never really wanted to be a Magic artist, but the money they were offering was pretty good.
Better than some of the alternatives.
Well, it would give me a lot of cushion to paint statues. That's what my boss says.
Wait, like, what do you mean statues? Do you mean like Warhammer?
Oh no, I've got a series of I don't know what you call them, like visceral statues that I'm painting. I like it. You can
You can link your
I'd
stuff.
like to see that.
Yeah, I can drop it in the. Is there a chat?
There's a chat here. But there's also like a Twitch chat. Yeah, I can pull up your stuff real quick on stream.
Yeah, hold on.
The Alan Morris is here. That's gonna happen to you someday. Because like
it already has.
When it started happening to me, I was like, "You guys are, you're fucking joking."
I don't have a big following on Instagram or anything, but at this point, people come up at shows just to see me, and it blows my mind. I'm like, why do you care?
Yeah, they're like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm meeting you, and you're like, why? Yeah, statues.
My worst selling one.
Your worst selling one? I picked up the worst one first. This one's really good. Does this one sell well?
Yeah, we sold out of, actually when we went to Kansas City last year, I told you this, in March of this year, we sold out of all our statues on Friday, and so for Gen Con I came packed for bear with like 40 to 50 of each print, and still managed to sell out of most of them.
That's great.
That one I printed giant behind me because I knew it was such an eye catcher.
It sure is. What's your best selling one? Was the autumn one? Dancer?
Yeah, the left behind there, the green one is still probably, they're tied neck and neck. The blue one rarely sells, but when people fall in love with it, they buy it instantly.
It's a cool idea. I feel like there's a difference between like you having this kind of like worn down looking face and like capturing this like sort of glancing expression of the figure. I don't know. It's like it being like a bald figure where the face is kind of mostly worn off and yet not really defining the humanity quite as much. I think makes a big difference.
I think I was
not that you're asking for crit. I'm just thinking out loud.
No, I agree. Yeah. I agree.
But
Yeah,
I mean, I have a
zeroing in
feeling
on
if you make more of
capturing-
these, you're gonna keep selling a bunch of them.
Yeah, I've got 3 more lined up. I just started. This is the first time I haven't had deadlines in roughly 3 years, so I don't have to sneak them in. I can just sit and work on them.
That's awesome. There's a question in the chat for you. Like, we were discussing this the other day about like sometimes you finish a piece and you think like this is a banger, and then it doesn't sell at all, and other times you like don't really think much of it, and it sells super good. Is there pieces that you think of as being like
Yes.
great pieces but nobody likes?
Scroll down to the red one with the people in the throne room. That guy throwing the knife. I did this one, and at the time
I think
got
I remember
so
you
much-
showing it to me excitedly, being like, "Do you think I'm about to become famous?" And I was like,
I'm about to quote you, and like I got so much feedback. Like I like all the art directors were on Facebook commenting on it. It was great, and I showed it to you,
All the
and you
art freaks.
specifically said like there are some paintings that artists really like, and that's how you know they're good, but they may not sell well.
"Yeah."
And this is like when people come up, I keep it behind the booth just in case I run out of prints, and because I've never sold out of them. So when people come up and really like it, but they don't want to buy it, I just give it away because I never sell them.
So like this is such an interesting point, like because it's like it's a really strong painting. Like I don't think there's any argument about that. Like you've done so many difficult things in this painting, and like, you know, not least of them being that it's a massive group scene, which I think I told you at one point that there's only so many artists in the world that try to specialize in like group shots, and that you had like a shot at it because you were doing it at a high level and actually trying to do it while basically everybody else was chickening out. But it's like, who wants a big group shot? It's like people buying prints, typically not. People who are commissioning for book covers, sometimes. And so a bunch of art directors are going to look at this and go like, damn, finally somebody that we can hire for big fantasy group shots to pay $1,000 every once in a while.
That's basically what happened. Yeah.
Which
you
is
get
like
people that are like, hey, can you do a party of 10 people staring out at the desert in armor? And you're like, not for that. Not for that price.
not for $700. No. The number of hours it takes to produce something like this is so extraordinary that like it's just not commensurate with the value it creates for a lot of those products, and it leaves this horrible mismatch where it's like you're doing something very valuable and difficult, but not in a way that like actually yields like commercial value. Because it's just it's not valuable enough to the person who would be commissioning you to like for you to set aside the time to do shit like this. So
well, it's immediately things like this are also because of the group. Like everyone can tell the skill that goes into it. It's immediately evocative, but it doesn't hit you sort of viscerally. Because when people see this, when they say, "What's the story? Who is that? What's going on?" But when people see my statues or my map maker, I don't have to explain anything. If I try and explain it, it's like getting in the way. The guy sitting on the arch. How far?
Oh, that one. Yeah, that one.
I need to.
This was one of the first ones where you're like, I think I got a banger. I think I got one.
Good. Yeah.
You're like, I did a painting, I like it, and people are buying it. I think I have a future, and I'm like, thank God. Like, you've been making good work for a long time at this point, and yet showing up to shows, and then when you compare numbers with people, finding yourself just like finding yourself frustrated.
Well, the funny thing was, this was the first painting where I only did things that I enjoyed and wanted in the painting.
Yeah.
It was one of those moments, like every painting I've ever done that sells happens at a time where I'm so like crowded with commissions that I can't breathe. So I usually end up doing a painting that I just enjoy doing and have everything I like painting. And they're always bangers. And it took me years to figure that out.
Interesting. Am I muted on the Discord side of things? No. Someone's saying I think you're muted, and I'm like, on what and where? I don't know. Not on the Discord. I mean, you're hearing me. I'm coming through on the fucking stream.
Yeah, you're on Discord.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell. All right. Someone's freaking me out.
For advertising my work on
no, I mean, it's great. Like, we're trying to have art discussions. It's so much more informative to have discussions that are about, like, an actual context, like an actual experience somebody had that has visuals. Oh, as opposed to trying to describe it all in abstract, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Right. And it's easier. It's easier when you're looking at other people's work, honestly.
I mean, I can describe stuff about my own work, but it's like, again, I don't know. It's like it's so much more instructive to be able to look at a variety of people's work and talk about the experience of it openly.
Yeah, it's like one of the things like Adam, when I kind of agreed with what he was saying, it just like it makes what the initial point, it drives it home just a little bit better, so you're like, well, I had this experience, but then no one else has, and then what does it matter type of deal. So,
man, you know what? It's interesting about this piece is like I saw the thumbnail and I'm like what's up with this one? I like because I love the windy shapes you have behind this figure, the way it's framed here,
Right.
And then it's like, oh, it's book cover piece.
Yeah.
And the composition has
always
been
tell.
absolutely hacked
Yeah.
for the sake of like accommodating text.
Yeah, you can tell I planned the front cover first, and then you have to accommodate the book cover, that left slant.
Oh well.
A lot of headroom,
Yeah.
Those are miserable. Those book covers where I had to do like 10 to 12 interiors for 5 different books were. You think it's a good idea because you see the money that they're throwing at it, and you're like, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
But then you're spending like 3 months at a time not doing color painting, and you just want.
Oh, that's what those other pieces are. Is yeah, I did some black and white interiors for like the one book cover job that I did, and I had such a miserable time with it, and I tried to like shortcut it, and I think I did such a bad job that I would never got hired again in the publishing industry. I did a mediocre job on the cover. I thought I did all right. Like maybe it was a promising start, and then like the interiors were so fucking bad that I was like blacklisted or something. But
I'm so tired of painting other people's characters that I phone it in 90% of the time.
Man,
these days.
you're like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna spend all this time doing black and white interiors that have like a million fucking figures in them. Tuck in and just make that my next 2 weeks. Boy.
Especially if you don't like the story. I heard this Donato. I was on the phone with him one day. And,
not talking about that book. That book was great. It's about some other story, one that we're not going to show specifically.
I feel bad about like commissioning out things. My lord.
Don't, because there's people that really love that stuff. I love it. Honestly, but not.
I mean, I guess I try to reach out to the people where like the work is relevant instead of just like shoehorning a good artist into something they don't enjoy doing or generally don't enjoy doing. So I don't know.
There's no way to get the perfect commission. I mean, the perfect commission is to not do commissions. Like,
right.
And one of the things I find particularly interesting about the circumstances that you're in right now is like people always ask me like, how do I find my thing? And they always think that their thing has to be some sort of epic top-down story or whatever that is going to like crack it open for them at like, in terms of helping them find a foothold in their career. And you're like, it's statues. I'm like, damn, that was not. I don't think if you were to ask,
you didn't see it coming.
If you were to survey 1,000 working artists, like, hey, is this a really good idea to dedicate yourself to? I don't think you would have gotten a lot of yeses. But you felt strongly about it, and then you tried it out, and the audience came, and I'm like, okay, great. It doesn't matter if it like makes sense or it sounds right to somebody else. Like it's really just a matter. It's your relationship with the work. It's your relationship with the audience that ultimately matters. And so, people are always worried because they want to come up with the coolest, greatest idea they can come up with for like what their artistic identity is going to be, and it's just the wrong attitude. Like it really just needs to be like a genuine expression of your interest, like something that just like comes to you in the shower or like comes to you while you're working, and then you make it and you care about it, and that's all it is. Like it's kind of simple in a way,
right?
Except for the fact that it's like, I don't know, like what makes it difficult? What do you think makes it difficult about finding a moment like that creatively?
It's all the baggage.
Yeah,
I mean, like from
just cutting away all the expectations.
From the moment that we start learning how to draw seriously, we're doing nothing but copying other people because that's how you learn how to draw, right?
Certainly.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel. And I think it's so easy to continue So now you've learned how to draw, you've learned how to paint, and it's like, okay, now what do I paint? And easy answer. I'll do the same thing I've been doing. I'm going to copy other people. So I want to go into book covers.
You got some Donato, you got some Lockwood.
Yeah.
And then now you've got a Morris.
Like, you've slowly shoehorned your way into something that you maybe didn't want to do to begin with, but you don't know that. Honestly, I found it myself by figuring out what I didn't like. I'd painted like hundreds of people, and I just didn't want to. I was so tired of taking reference photos.
You're like you carved out a specialty for yourself in the freelance art world for drawing crowd scenes, and then you made a personal series that had no people in it. Technically,
yeah, it's got no people. It has nothing I have to look up reference for. All of these are basically without reference because that was the most painstaking.
I really do love this dancer piece, and like part of the thing that strikes me is it's got this naturalistic like lighting to it. It feels almost like very photographic. Like I don't know. Like I mean, the lighting of the figure and the background are separate from each other in like a very pleasing way. But it's like it's so consistent. The kind of patina of it and like the lighting of it. It feels and like all the pose is so dynamic and feels so natural. But
I really like how the trees push away from her hands to like really frame it.
That's what I wanted.
There's a lot of abstract design that's happening that is kind of taken for granted, probably by people who like don't look at art critically. There's a lot of this piece that's really just an abstract, right?
You can tell that there's so much of the composition is abstract, but it's anchored in like moments of reality, like where the trunk meets the ground, or exactly. That's what I want from all these, honestly, is to live in that surreal space.
Yeah, you and me both. That's why I'm always drawing clouds.
Yeah, my leaves and ground, like where grass meet rocks, those are my clouds.
Yeah. Adam, what were you about to say? I thought I heard Adam poke in.
Yeah, somebody's in the chat asking if there is a story behind them, if any, or are they just, awesome statue paintings?
They all come from like different. It's such a cliche, right? It just comes from my own life experiences. I feel like I get the name in my head first, and then I create the thumbnail based on how I feel about that. The one called The Dreamcatcher is, it's about trying to hold on to things that you don't have any control of. And I just throw everything that I equate with that emotion into the painting. That's actually something that Pete always does.
I mean, that sounds exactly like my process, to be honest. So I'm like, I'm not sure if you borrowed that from me or if we've ended up the same point through, exploration or what. But
I think both, but at the same time, it's hard to get away from that because you've told it to me 100,000 times.
You listen to me podcast too much, and now your brain is permanently poisoned.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, it's a good way to work. I mean, you've borrowed a lot of like the underpinnings of what I've enjoyed about art, which is, building abstract designs, and then kind of grounding them and starting with a name and, doing a lot of like having it be about the vibe and less about like a top-down story. And
the actual explanation beyond it is so fickle that why would you? It's like this one's easily about like, I don't know, breaking up with a girl.
Sure.
And like saying that is very different than like, oh, it's a painting about experiencing loss.
Somebody is like, somebody's like at your booth and you can see that they start to like well up and with emotion a little bit. They start to cry and they're like, "What's this about?" You're like, "This dumb bitch ex-girlfriend of mine fucking broke up with
me." You said that's why sometimes it's better to not explain your painting to people. I've experienced this sometimes too when I'm at an event where like they come in with this energy and this overlay of their interpretation of the piece, and then they ask me what it's about, and I'm like, well, shit, like anything that I say is going to suck ass, and they're bringing to it.
That's a good way to put it.
I've started like trying to guess what they think it means and feeding that to them, and that's worked better like 90% of the time.
You can cheat it. You can cheat it because like the big cheat that I always got when I was talking to people about my art at conventions is there's this moment where you're like, I want to say the right thing to them, and I don't know what that is, and it's going to be different to different people, right? So I would just ask them, like, what are you thinking? Like, what are you thinking about? And they would sometimes be like, I'm thinking about this, how this piece relates to me. And then other times they'd be like, I'm trying to think about, like, where this is going to fit in my living room. And other times it was like, I'm thinking about printing technology. And it's like, you know, they're totally different conversations. And so if somebody's, like, talking about the creativity of it, like, I would rather them tell me, like, the relationship they have with the work rather than like talk about my own relationship with it, because I'm more likely than not just going to ruin it by trying to explain to them like how it fits into my life.
There's a huge difference.
Go ahead.
There's a huge difference between somebody coming up and saying, "What is this about?" versus, "Oh my God, can you tell me about this?" You know, like when they've fallen in love like that, giving them an explanation is like, I don't know, explaining lightning through Zeus. Like you've taken the magic away from them. And yeah, I do the same thing. I'm like, oh, what do you think it's about?
I had this one great, but every once in a while you get a great experience where, you know, somebody explains to you what the painting's about and they nail it 100%.
Oh yeah.
Like I'll pull up the piece rather than describe abstractly. I was at Dragon Con, and this woman walks past my booth, and she looks at this painting, and she goes, "Oh, it's Mr. Boogie." And I go, "Who's Mr. Boogie?" She goes, "Sometimes I'm walking through the woods with my dog, and my dog starts barking at nothing." And we go, "Oh, is that Mr. Boogie over there?" And I'm like, "That's it. You got it. Like, you nailed it 100%." It's like I wanted to try to create a piece about this sort of paranoid sense that there's like a presence that watches us in private moments, and that, like, you know, we all have this like paranoid fantasy of that at times, this idea that like there's somebody watching from behind us, and when we turn our head they move and we can't see them anymore. And like it's this common experience, but like trying to explain it to someone, they might like either not relate to it or not relate to it in the same terms or whatever. But to like have somebody explain it in the personal experience, in the experience that they had in their own life, and them just like instantly get like what that was trying to express, I was like, awesome. Like, I'm like, and they're like, "Is that for sale?" I'm like, "Fucking, of course it is." Like, go for you want two for, it's one for 42 for 70. Is there another one you got your eye on? Like, what, how are we gonna close this deal?
You missed saying that.
No, I'm gonna be back. I'm gonna be back at a con this year. I'm gonna be back at Lightbox. I'm going to Lightbox a couple of months. But
you guys are like way bigger brain about this stuff than I am. All my paintings are just called like, they don't even have titles. It's just like Bunny Girl 26 or whatever.
If you just apply that drawing skill to a little bit of conceptual work, you're going to be golden. That's the thing I'm trying to push you towards.
Dude, I get DMs from people on like DeviantArt though, where they're like, "Man, what does this character mean? What's she like or whatever?" And the painting is literally just called Bunny Girl 26. And I like don't know what to tell them.
Oh, just, I mean, maybe you got to BS them. Who knows?
Like, hearing you two talk about art makes me feel like I should never talk about art again.
No, we've just learned how to add big words in, I guess.
Well,
we've also both had a lot of experience, not just making the art, but like a big part of it. Like if you go to conventions, you have to go face to face with a shitload of people and have conversations with them about your work. And like that is that's a unique experience. It forces you to consider things on a level that you're never going to have like working on things in isolation. And so I think convention artists have like a really interesting perspective on their work because, you know, you're not just getting likes and comments and subscribes. You're like having actual conversations with people and in like a speed dating format. And like you do that for enough years, like it changes your perception on your art and other people's art, I think.
Yeah, it's always funny when you're talking and something pops out that you didn't know was true, but it is once you think about it. And you're like, where was that sitting when I was trying to describe this on my website?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a classic problem for artists is like speaking about their work in public spaces, right?
Yeah. I think a lot of people want to over describe their stuff too.
Yeah. Over intellectualize it. Like, I mean, what we're trying to do is we're trying to like be genuine about what the art is and why it was made and who it's for, but without descending into kind of a navel-gazy fine art perspective on it. Like, how do you be authentic about the reasons why something's made, especially when it's made for like a commercial purpose, without descending into something that is either crass commercialism or like, you know, high-minded like fine art drivel, you know?
I look at conventions like it's like, so I'm in a metal band. I look at them kind of the same way. Like, I'm there to give the people who paid their ticket a good time. There's a product in the artwork, but they're there for a good time. And when you have the difference is the one-on-one conversations, right? Like at a musical show, everybody shows up in a big crowd and they're all generally looking for the same thing. Whereas at a comic book convention, well, an art convention, people are individually coming up to you for different reasons, right? So some people love the book. Some people want to draw themselves. Some people, like if I'm sketching, really want to see me draw, or their kid is into art. I just try to enhance whatever experience they're trying to have. It's only the people who are genuinely studying art would I even consider like getting into a serious like art discussion about on that thing. But at the same time, whatever answer I give them is sincere, right? It's just sincere according to what they're looking for, as opposed to you can be sincere about something but also tell people something they're totally not interested in because they just thought it looked cool. They didn't, they didn't sign up for the Pasadena Art Center version of that discussion.
I saw a funny post on Twitter. Well, the post wasn't. Oh, I don't know if it applied.
Did it have minions in it?
Getting lost in the weeds. No. It was like somebody like posted like a fan art of like Fate Grand Order where it's like Saber Lily eating like a hamburger or something. And there was like a comment where the guy was like really in this like really condescending tone. He did this like long tweet where he was like, ugh, you guys just don't get it. Like if you've been around art as long as I have, you understand that what this painting is about the imperialism of like the capitalist world order or whatever. And then the artist replied and was like, it's about a girl eating a burger, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, it's it's even harder when it's like done in public spaces where you can like be having a conversation with one person and like fuck it up for somebody else. Because like if that person like thinks it's the deepest thing they've ever seen because they think it's about imperialism, like you would want to you don't want to break that for them.
Oh, okay.
Like
yeah, there is a salesmanship too.
Yeah, I mean, there's part of it is sales, but also just like, I mean, do you really want to like ruin? If somebody has like a really strong opinion about something and they care about it, like, do you want to be like, no, fuck you, you're wrong, like step away from the art?
Yeah, you don't want to ruin their mythology. I used to tell this to my 1 year of teaching. I have so many stories. My kids, when they were doing their thesis show, every explanation they came up with kept being like, oh, I actually painted this about my friend. But it would be a tarot card, and you're like, no, don't. Like, you're building a wall. Don't build that wall for people.
Yeah.
Just let them have their own idea about it. And that's fine, even if it's wrong.
And then all of them are making some fucking terrible collage about their trauma.
Oh, yeah, that's art school.
I'm trying to figure out why your study is so spooky.
Why my study so spooky? I don't know. She's a spooky lady. I had fun with this one, but I'm like trying to figure out like if I can throw like a last minute flourish on it that gives it a little color and adds some style. And I'm like I'm like over time on it. Like I finished working on it like 45 minutes ago, and then we were talking, and now I'm like back here to see if I can whip up a finale in the last 5 minutes. She's got a crazy. I think the crazy twisty pose is throwing it off, and the total lack of like healthy skin tone.
Pete, I see you're trying.
Hey,
to do
Alan, did I
this
tell you
and,
that I almost got a job teaching this last year?
You were on here talking about maybe getting one. How'd it work? How'd it go?
I interviewed, and they were like basically telling me like trying to like prepare me for my first day on the job, more or less. And I got to like the final stage of it, and I was like, "Hey, I hate to break it to you guys, but like I've heard how much you pay, and it might be a problem." And then they like they waited 4 weeks and sent me a form rejection letter.
Oh,
And there was like I if I had done what I should have done is I should have like kept going along with it and then brought it up after the president had like made an actual offer letter, as opposed to like, because I think what happened is I think that the VP of student affairs ended up like shielding the president from having to have a discussion where there might be a need to like talk about their holistic pay policies. Is this a vest? Is she wearing a vest that is like, is that what this thing is that's popping out over here? Has this been a vest the whole time?
maybe. They could explain the blue at the top.
But yeah, I was like really,
I
I was really considering like trying to teach it Ringling and balance that along with my other stuff, because I've always loved teaching. But yeah, instead I'm like just building my own school, because like that's the reasonable option for me, I guess, is like, oh, didn't get a job teaching, I guess I'll have to go found my own art school now.
Isn't that what you've always done?
Yeah, I mean basically. So it's
Just
like
go.
pretty in character at this point.
It really is. You always try something, and then you go off and do
I go and I try to do it like the ordinary way, where like there's, you know, like a regular job or whatever, and then I complain about how bullshit it is. Usually it's something to do with them not paying enough or not giving people enough like rights or whatever, and then I go and I do it myself anyway, and then I spend the next 10 years grousing about it.
I was actually looking forward to all the complaints while you were teaching. I was
From the students, you think I would have struck a nerve?
No. The other way around, like people complaining about the administration. And
yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Like I was coming in primed to complain, because like all the teachers I'd hung out with, they all love to bitch about their jobs, and I was like, I can do better than that. You know, I'm going to go into this job, and I'm not going to complain about it every single day the way that they do. At like, some of them got in big trouble because someone recorded a Zoom call where they were like shit talking like students' work, and like, you know, like talking about trying to like lower some students' grades so that they would intentionally like drop out and stuff because he thought they sucked at art.
yeah,
And I'm like, I'm gonna not do that.
That's awful.
that's
So bad.
That's the experience I had. I ended up disliking the other teachers more than I ever disliked the students. I had a lot of those conversations. I had one guy tell me that I asked him how I was doing my first year in, or first semester, and he said, "Well, you need to give grade harsher." Like what?
Like for who? I mean, they graduate and they're not like they're going to take these grades back to their parents. It's like
God, that's so weird.
It's so,
Like,
dude,
don't
no,
they-
teachers have such a weird fucking ego about control over grades. It's wild. It's like it runs rampant in college. It's like these fucking old heads with nothing better to do, like hold it over your head that they have the ability to ruin your fucking career.
but like
But they're like,
historically, I've always had all my problems come from people who are higher status rather than people who are lower status. So it's like I would imagine in a job like this, I would probably have an easier time working with the students and like, you know, being on their side and like, you know, be like, being happy about my relationship with them and then being frustrated with the teachers, because that sounds exactly like the sort of situation that I've had in other like environments.
Oh man, that's so weird that like that's their attitude too. Because like they're artists, right? Like, don't they remember what it was like being new and like struggling and
No,
stuff?
they don't.
Like,
I don't
They
know.
don't. Have you like
Well,
spoken to people who think they're good at art, like as a someone that's not good at art? Like, when's the last time that's happened? Because like, let me tell you, that's just like an ongoing experience.
The conversation I was having that I was referencing was they were basically doing it to cover their own ass. They said that if you don't have grades that spread across the board, the administration thinks you're phoning it in.
That's interesting.
I told them, let the administration come look at my kids' work.
Yeah, you're like, guess what? I'm the best teacher here, and all my students are producing fantastic work. Like, come at me.
I said that to one of my students, and I think it got around because the art faculty stopped talking to me.
That's the other thing I would fuck up is I would say a bunch of stuff in confidence to my students probably, and be like, hey, you know what? Everyone here is really fucking good. You guys are better, or like this person in the administration sucks, and like I would just be talking openly with the people who are like, in my class, and that something would get out. I know I wouldn't be able to hold it back. That would get me in trouble.
Yeah, I think we're similar that way. I think that's what happened.
People are afraid of the truth.
Can I like ask? I mean, you guys have been amazing with donations and everything, and I just want to say we're one server boost away from getting the next level on Discord, and that's going to allow us to like do higher quality streams on the VC. So there have been some amazing people who I don't know why, because we haven't been asking for it. We're like adding server boosts to the Huckleberry Art Academy Discord, and now we're one away, and I can't help but like I was going to remind myself to do this today. Like it'd be cool to hit level 3. So if it's like the money doesn't mean anything to one of you guys, and you just want to do a solid like getting us up there it is. Okay, thank you so much. That didn't take very long. Who can I thank?
Yeah.
If you're in chat, I'm happy to give you a shout out.
What does that do? The server boost?
The server boost, like there's a bunch of features that like get unlocked when people like donate money to the server. So like you get like the ability to have like higher resolution and frame rates and like voice chat and stuff. Oh, is Arena's arts? Awesome. Thank you so much, Arena's. I know you didn't raise your hand, but Dustin fucking sniffed you out. Oh, he was one. Oh, they were one of the first 2 server boosters too. Awesome. So I'm posting my daily now because I'm done at this point. And I'm gonna log out in a minute. It has gotten to be like 100 degrees inside my studio, in the bunker here, and
nice.
I'm sweating. I'm sweating heavily.
What's the temperature over there?
In Florida, I don't know, in the 90s or something. The swimming pool's been really nice.
I bet. Yeah, my uncle was telling me who lives in your area. He said even the ocean's too hot to get in right now. But we got like 115 over here, or 105. So I don't know.
Oh, Double John's asking the bunker. Okay, so this is a bit of Mohrbacher lore for you guys. We bought a house that had, I got 2 kids. They're sharing a bedroom. We got the master bedroom, and we wanted an extra bedroom for an office. And so my wife has that as her office. And there is a fallout shelter behind the master bedroom that has no windows and all concrete walls. And it is I am going to do a bunker tour at some point if I can clean up the office a little bit. But they build it as a walk-in closet. Dustin has seen it. It's like there's a 20-foot concrete hallway that's too low and too narrow for you to walk comfortably through it, that you have to walk through to get into here. And I disassembled like an Aeron chair and an IKEA desk piece by piece and carried it through this like tight little space to make this like little concrete like thing. It's got built-in wooden shelves in the back that I put like knickknacks on. That's like clearly designed for canned beans and jarred urine in case of an apocalypse, because this house was built in the 1950s. There's like a built-in hand-cranked air pump that was in the wall. It's I would say it's not entirely comfortable. In the summertime, it gets a little hot. And so I've got like a little fan here. I don't want to run it while I'm run the fan while I'm streaming. But yeah, it's a cozy space. Let's say that. So I will post at some point a photo of the hallway that leads into the bunker. It looks like the movie Barbarian. And it's very funny, and I do like it. I do kind of like it in here, but I am looking forward to the kids growing up and moving out, and so I can take over like a proper bedroom as an office. Because my wife, she's got her plants and she's got her big drawing desk, and so she gets the big office, and I'm working out of the fallout shelter in the back. So yeah, we call it the bunker. It is. Yeah, it's intense. Dustin says, I have a photo that I can share that doesn't show any messy stuff in the bunker. It's all concrete. Yeah, feel free to post it, Dustin. I trust your discretion on this. But yeah, you can post it in the Discord. I'll pop it up on screen. But it's a unique working space. That's for sure.
You too can be a hugely successful artist working in a bunker.
Yeah. Like if there's ever like a nuclear warhead that's dropped on Florida, I am one of the people that's most likely to survive because I spent so many hours sitting in a fallout shelter. I think I spend more hours sitting in a fallout shelter than just about anybody in the world. Like I'm easily top 1% fallout shelter sitters, right? So I feel pretty good about my chances. How's the air circulation in the bunker, though? It's all right. I mean, it's like the doors open, so there's this long hallway. And I try to get the air from the fan to kind of blow into the corner to like move air in and out of the hallway. But it's fine. I mean, it doesn't get stale in here or anything weird. It's not underground. I think it would be cooler if it were underground, but it would probably be a little tougher. He says, dang, this is taking some time, but I'll get it. Jumping Dragon Studios asking, where do you stand paint on 3D renders as part of the creative process? Are you one of the purists starting from a drawing / painting? I don't think it's purism. It's just like I don't know how to model. So if I can't sculpt or model, then it's tough for me to integrate it in my process. I would probably do it if I was better at it, because I did a little bit of like quick mock-up, 3D mock-up stuff for some Magic cards back in the day when I was assigned to do things that had architecture and I didn't know, and I stink at perspective, so I had to like cheat. Stale air would drive me insane. Yeah, it would drive me insane too, but I think it's decently fresh in here. It's just it doesn't have circulation from the AC system. So if we're relying heavily on the AC, it's not going to get it in here. But the way I get internet in here is I use internet over power line. The internet over power line is like my secret hack. It allows you to plug in a thing into a power outlet and basically beam broadband internet through a power outlet to get it from one end of the house to the other. Post it in general. Oh my god, general. Please. Where's general? Here we go. Oh, you have the back of my head in here. This isn't a good photo. This isn't a good photo. It's so red. Yeah, there's also a red light bulb there. I'm gonna delete this.
I missed the chance.
All right. Yeah, there's because there's like a bare light. The lighting in here is like two bare light bulbs. One of them's disabled, and then the other one's got a programmable bulb in it, like a Philips Hue, and so it's like right above my monitors and like in my eye line. So in order to not blast my eyes all the time, I have it set to dark red. So when I don't have my desk lamp on, the ambient light in my bunker is all red, like one of those old photo development studios. Oh, didn't want to take pics and private stuff on my desk in the one shot. Yeah, I'm gonna get some glamour shots of this space because it is such a weird space that I would love to be able to like build the lore a little bit. But yeah, it's a little horror movie-esque. I have thought that if I ever get to move my office out of here, I might turn it into some sort of performance art thing where I go and tell people to check it out and they get in here and it's just like a horror show. Like just a skeleton hanging on an upside down cross or something when they get in and they turn around and I'm standing behind them blocking the doorway. Like I want someone to have a fucking heart attack when I show them around the house the first time. I don't know. Like okay, more lore is like I used to have a real human skeleton back in the day. And when we'd have people over for dinner for like the first time, I would be Dustin's seen this. I have a photo of Dustin photographing the skeleton because he came over when we first got it. It was in pretty bad shape. It was like 100 years old, and people would come over for dinner for the first time. I'd be like, "Do you want to see a dead body?" And I would give them no context, and they'd be like, "What?" And I'm like, "Do you want to see a dead body? Yes or no?" Like, and then they would say yeah because they were curious. And we'd go down in the basement, and they'd open up a closet, and I would pull open one of those big Tupperware tins, and there would be like a bunch of bones inside, you know, like a whole torso was kind of assembled, and then like arms and legs kind of just tucked in there. And they'd go, I had no idea what I was expecting. But it was
so crazy.
an actual
used to have
human remains, like
back in the day.
And they're like, oh, now I'm down in the basement with this guy and this thing. That's awesome, you know. Like, and I always thought that was funny. So I might see if I can repeat that a little bit. I don't think I'm going to get another body. The wife did not like owning a skeleton.
How did you get rid of it without being very sus?
Well, there was there's Dustin's posting a photo of this is it. So let me pull this up here.
Oh, that's how you get away with murder.
So this is the site. This is the skeleton in the bin. There it is. But then we've got a larger view of it here. Yeah, Dustin's got it up on his Instagram. But yeah, this is when we first got the skeleton in, and so like some of the articulation had broken over time, because it used to be a medical skeleton back like decades ago, and then it was pulled out of a dumpster when the school was throwing it out, and then I inherited it from a guy who was like the guy. It was like the dad of one of my dad's friends that was the owner of this thing. So my dad called me up one day. He's like, "Do you want a free skeleton?" I was like, "Yes." 100% yes. And so, you know, I had this thing. The wife didn't like it. That I think the head was from a different person because it was like way brighter and in better shape than the rest of the body. You can see how much more yellowed and pitted it is, but the skull was still in really good shape. So I think it might have been two people, to be honest. And, you know, if you were to go and buy something like this, it would be fairly expensive. So I was like, yeah, I want to get thousands of dollars worth of free human remains. Yes, please, of course. But yeah, like it was mostly hanging out in the bin. And then I was working out of this warehouse, and the guy in the warehouse were interested in like buying it, but they didn't really have the money. And so when I was like moving out of the warehouse, I just like left it there with them because they were interested in it because they thought it was really cool. And like so I just like left it with them, and I hope that they took good care of it because, you know, it's always good to be respectful. Like it was in the bin because I didn't want it to just get like knocked around in the studio or whatever. I tried to take good care of it while I had it, but like it was already had like its rib cage was kind of collapsed, like the cartilage on there was preserved with like a kind of like a fabric and wax mixture. It was really like antiquated in the way that it was put together, and it had gotten damaged at some point before I gotten it, and then it fell apart. I think because a lot of the fixtures, like the wires and stuff, had just rusted apart because of its age. So yeah. So I was thinking like if I were to like hang something like that on the wall inside the bunker, and then somebody comes over and like they go down this little concrete hallway, and in like a solid red room, they like come in there and it's just like an altar with like human remains on it. Like there's no exit. I think that'd be really funny. And they'd be like, nah, this is just my skeleton room. Let's go grab a drink. You want a beer?
When you were dropping it off to the warehouse people, you should have like put it in a long like black duffel bag and shadily walked out the door with it with another person carrying the other end, and then have someone take like a candid shot from like 20 feet away.
When it showed up in a trash bin, in a garbage bag. And so I opened up this trash bin, and inside, of course, you know, there's this skull and the torso and stuff. And then we started pulling everything out, and I was freaked out. I'd never handled human remains before. And then I was like, there's way too many arms and legs in here. I was like, what the fuck is happening? And I discovered later that it was actually the remains of 2 skeletons, one of which was made of acrylic. So I didn't realize it at first, because it turns out acrylic replicas are really, really accurate. You can tell by touching them, but you wouldn't notice by looking at them which one's made of plastic and which one's made of bone. So I was really freaked out because there was just like a lot of arms and legs in that garbage bin. That's not something you want. You know, on any given day, you don't want to be surprised by how many human arms are inside your trash.
Eat for yourself.
You have to bite each bone like a gold coin. That's incredible. But yeah, the texture of like real human bone is kind of like dead leaves or like a really dry branch. It has that kind of texture, while the acrylic is like waxy and solid. So that's just skeleton facts for today. I'm logging out. Let's figure out somebody to raid on the way out here. I hope you guys like this deep lore. Yeah, this is a good story for this this VTuber I've got going on. But yeah, Dustin says he's got 2 candidates. I think for some people these stories are like the best. Like they're really excited about stories that involve real human remains, very Halloween stuff, and then other people are probably coming out here who are horrified that I would be like this. But I'm sorry, this is this is the reality. I'm just gonna try to like. Way you can I don't know what people want from me. I'm just going to like be myself here. Oh, this guy is painting over some magic cards and it looks neat. Now let's check it out. Doing some painted altars are cool. All right, so getting this raid set up. Thanks everyone for joining me today on the stream. It was good talking with everyone. Oh, we got a ton of viewers today. Holy shit, I didn't even know what the numbers were. I'll be back here tomorrow morning doing the same thing as always. And in the meantime, I'll see you on the other side. Goodbye.
Bye, Pete.
See ya, Pete.
See ya.